Arms.
Hey everyone, Corey here with Coat of Arms TV, and I have an exciting guest for you today, Mr. Rod Giltaca of the CCFR. For some of you who don't know who Rod is, or you may be an American viewer, I'm going to give Rod the opportunity to introduce himself and explain to you a little bit about what he does and about what he's up against. Rod, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, well, thanks for having me. As you said, my name is Rod Giltaca. I'm the CEO and Executive Director of the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights. Basically, the CCFR is a public relations organization, although we've grown to do a lot of different things, including lobbying and now legal action. But basically, I guess one might say that we're inarguably the most influential gun lobby in Canada right now. So what we're up against is the Liberals, as some of you might know, banned hundreds of thousands of firearms, thousands of models, but hundreds of thousands of firearms from hundreds of thousands of Canadians on May 1st of this year. They did it outside of the parliamentary process. They just did it via OIC, which is Order in Council. It's basically a decree, and that's not what Orders in Council were ever for. They were meant to do minor tweaks to regulations, but they did this, and they consulted no one. And it's affected a lot of people. It's affected them dramatically. And we've got a court case, the largest in Canadian history by far, on behalf of gun owners. So we've launched that lawsuit. That lawsuit's going to go on for the next year or two. And we're also holding a march in Ottawa to try to gain attention, put a focus back on what's really going on when it comes to guns.
So I'm glad you mentioned the march. So we've coined this the hashtag integritymarch, and this is kind of a spin or another session in regards to the Integrity Tour. Could you tell people a little bit about what was the Integrity Tour, what was achieved, and what is this next step in terms of the march itself?
So the Integrity Tour is something that we did back before the last election. We had a 30-foot RV fully wrapped with some messaging that just says, hey, pay attention to what the Liberal government is doing to gun owners while they're soft on crime, which is bad all the way around for everybody, bad for the average citizen, bad for everyone, right? It's just totally bad policy. No way to run a country. And then we confronted Liberal candidates at their offices to explain their platform or to explain why they're doing that. And we didn't have a lot of takers, although he wasn't the Minister of Public Safety at the time. He had some weird ministry that they created for him. But Bill Blair was crazy enough to let us in with a camera crew into his office. And that video is up on the Coat of Arms TV channel on YouTube, and it's also up on the CCFR channel. And that interview was a bit of a disaster, but it was a political stunt. Again, to be completely honest, to draw attention to the issues faced by people that would go through the trouble of acquiring and maintaining a firearms license, being treated very poorly by the government. And then the Integrity March is something that's coming up on September the 12th at 1 p.m. on Parliament Hill. And basically we are observing all COVID-19 restrictions and guidelines, and we're all going to, gun owners are welcome to come down. We're all going to march, do a march around the block. We have a pipe and drum band and a film crew there as well. And we just want to show mainstream Canadians that there are a lot of gun owners. They're being mistreated. They're being treated terribly. The Liberal government is doing nothing to stop the shootings and only targeting people with firearms licenses. And we have a hard time getting attention in the mainstream media, so we have to draw attention ourselves.
You guys have done some extensive work in and around the preparation for the Integrity March. Can you speak a little bit about the importance of having to get ahead of some of those items and maybe where they could find that information should they be coming out to the Integrity March?
Go to firearmrights.ca and click on the first news story that you see. There'll be what's called the Integrity March Survival Guide, and so that's the guide and information that you're referring to. But basically, as an organization, we've never been in favor of doing protests or rallies, and the reason for that is there's a lot of risk there, right? There's risk for trouble, there's risk for violence. Gun owners are never going to be violent. They're never going to be trying to cause trouble. That's just not who they are typically as a demographic. But you have outsider agitators that can cause a lot of trouble, and of course the mainstream media will blame it on gun owners. And so we have not been advocates of doing protests as a result of that. It just leaves you quite vulnerable. There's a lot of risk. So what we felt was we're going to do a quick event. It is a march. We're not going to be loitering around on Parliament Hill. We're going to be meeting. We're going to talk for 5 or 10 minutes at 1 p.m. on September the 12th on Parliament Hill. We are going to, so no big lineup of speakers or anything. Then we're going to march around a couple of city blocks, return there, say a few things, and it's over. But the whole point of it is to gain some visibility. And we have a full camera crew there. We have photographers there, all waiting. For as far as the security situation is concerned, we have allied with Ottawa Police Service. They've been really great with us. They're going to protect our group all the way through the march. They're going to block off streets for us. The Parliamentary Protection Services, the PPS on Parliament Hill, they've been great with us too. They all know who we are, so that's fantastic. And then the COVID concern. So we're asking everyone to wear a mask. It's not as a political statement that they're bending the knee to, whatever. We're just saying, you know what? Just respect your fellow gun owner that's made it out during the pandemic and is taking the risk, small risk, right? But if there's a risk there, absolutely. Wear a mask. If you don't have one, we will have 1,000 masks and hand sanitizer on site. And we're going to try to stay 2 meters apart in each direction, which will actually look even better on camera because we will occupy greater space as we're marching. And so we're trying to make sure that we take care of every detail, keep everybody safe, both health-wise and security-wise, and have a successful march and the footage to distribute around and show how passionate gun owners are about not having their property taken.
And what I really love about the approach that you've taken is, really putting safety first. And a lot of people may be saying, well, what's the big concern? I really don't understand it. And you're right, it's not gun owners, it's not our community. But like we have seen in the past, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Bill Blair that was the chief of police when they got caught in a bit of a scandal during the G20 protest to try to raise some chaos in the mix of that in order to be able to enforce a mass arrests. And you couldn't write this stuff. It's like right out of a movie.
Will you take responsibility for your actions in the biggest civil rights trampling in Canadian history?
And if it happened in the past, could happen again. And I love the fact that you've really gotten ahead of that, knowing that these are some of the risks that are very real. A lot of people may not be aware of those things. And that's important. And the one question I would ask you, so Rod, if people are unsure if they're going to come out or, they got to take the day off work, why should they be there at the Integrity March? Why is this an important thing for every Canadian, not just firearms owners?
So it's on a Saturday. So we did the best that we could to make sure that people weren't working. But it's really important. And my message to our community is I really need you, if you're local, I really need you to come out. I need at least 1,000 people. And so there's a lot of different reasons why we're doing this. A lot of people, anything that we do in the firearms community spurs a giant debate and everybody jumps in, especially on firearm forums or on social media. They jump in and there's this big debate. Oh, the media's going to ignore you. It's like, yeah, they probably will. There's a chance they might not, but they probably will ignore us. But that doesn't matter. We're not doing it for them. We will create our own content and our own media, and we will distribute that everywhere. Social media gives us an avenue where we can bypass the mainstream media, at least to some extent. So we really want to capture that footage. And one of the big things, and I want, if you're a gun owner in the local area and you're thinking, well, is it even worth it? Number one, it's going to take you about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, depending on how close you live to Ottawa. Half an hour to find parking and to get to Parliament Hill, half an hour after and to go home. And this whole event is only about an hour. It's not 3 hours of speakers, saying, the hell with the man. You'll never get our guns. It's not like that. We're just going to go there, make our political statement, and then disperse. And if I were to give you one compelling reason why you would want to show up and just participate, just with your presence, is because one of the biggest anti-gun groups, and this is going to take a second, but I think it's important. One of the biggest anti-gun groups in Canada is now the Doctors for Protection from Guns.
I think we really need to ban firearms and specifically handguns and assault weapons.
We asked doctors about their experience treating gunshot wounds and why they are making this their cause.
Weapons of war have no place in our civil society.
In my opinion, a terribly fraudulent group. A lot of their statements are easily debunked and proven wrong. That's a real challenge for us because the mainstream media just lines up behind doctors and they know it because they hide behind their credentials. to avoid criticism, and they block you on social media and whatnot. Well, they had a National Day of Action. They had their PR guy was bragging that they got over 90 mainstream media interviews to pump this National Day of Action. Okay, so everybody lined up behind them, the government, everything. Well, what they were able to achieve was next to nothing. In Toronto, which is their strongest point, there's probably maybe 100 people, maybe. In Montreal, there's maybe 130, something like that. And then in Calgary and the Maritimes or whatever, it's like 2 people with a fold-up table and nobody around. So that's when we hear things like Canadians are overwhelmingly in favor of a ban, and oh, they're all about gun control. It's like, no, that's not true. Because I can create, during a pandemic no less, increased risk, right? During a pandemic, I can bring 1,000 people together. And we have deals with local hotels. And one of the hotels, just one of them, has already booked 64 rooms. People flying from across the country to come and attend this. So, you know, are Canadians in favor of a ban? I would say no. And on top of that, I will have the footage to prove it.
What I love about that also is the education piece. So like you talk about, are Canadians in favor of it? And the ones that are in favor of it, do they even really understand it? And what I love about the CCFR is your education, approach to educating all Canadians. You've broken down some walls in terms of getting out there because you've been real busy on the media front, mainstream media even.
Rod Giltaca joins us now.
To weigh in on this, let's bring in Rod Giltaca.
I'm joined by Rod Giltaca, CEO and Executive Director.
No, I appreciate it. We've done, almost everything we've done had never been done before. And the reason is it's a lot of work and it takes a very specialized skill set. So while I'd like to bask in the glory of, not stopping the gun ban, but yet doing great work, it's just, to me, it's meaningless. We need to stop the gun ban, right? We work really, really hard, and we work really hard every single day. And you see it because new stuff comes out of the CCFR every month. Every month there's a big project. We have television series. We have a limited series coming up on Wild TV. We have a 1-hour documentary coming out on Sportsman Channel the day of the march. It'll be online or on September 7th on Sportsman Channel Canada. We have explainer videos. We do mainstream media interviews. We have had syndicated CBC interviews. That's where you appear on CBC radio across the country, usually about 30 interviews in the course of 3 hours. So we've done a lot of stuff that hadn't been done before. I'd like to say that it's worked and we've all kept our guns, but it's, the real key, and actually, again, this is kind of a little bit long, but this is really important. I think what a lot of gun owners don't understand is it's a public relations war. It's because gun control is political. It has no connection with public safety whatsoever. And you know that because of the type of talking points that you're faced with. It's all emotion, appeals to emotion. There's no data. So it's an uphill battle. But to win this, we have to educate mainstream Canadians that don't own guns because they keep voting for parties that tell them lies about gun control. So that's really hard work. It's the long game. It takes a really long time to get anywhere, if you get anywhere at all. But at the end of the day, it hadn't been tried before the CCFR. It needed to have been tried because a lot of gun groups just keep doing the same stuff that's not working. And, I could never say that it's going to work and we're going to save your guns. I'm just going to say that we will do everything we possibly can to make it as difficult on them as possible. The only way to really save your guns is to change the minds of Canadians, get a Conservative Party majority elected, and that'll just stop the gun control. I don't even know if it'll get reeled back at all, but at least it'll stop it. So that's the reality. Those are the hard truth behind trying to save our guns. It's not pretty, but we have to do it.
Well, coming from a background in production, in video production, knowing the costs associated with doing those type of projects, how important is it for you to have the support of firearms owners in regards to, becoming a member and effectively being able to contribute to this process? Because I can't imagine the amount of money that it's taken for you to do the stuff that you're doing. Even the lawsuit aside, just the stuff you have done prior to the lawsuit. Can you talk a little bit about that and what the support has been like from the community?
So everything in the world revolves around money. You need money to do anything, right? You can't even go downtown and have a nice evening out without money. You can't even go to the park downtown because you're going to have to pay $28 for parking, right? So that's just the way the world is. So for us to create television shows and for us to work every day full time on this stuff, and you see the results with the CCFR, unprecedented. And I know it's a self-serving comment, but I would recommend that people just have a look at what we've done as an organization. It's unbelievable. And you can do that by going to firearmrights.ca and just poke around the site. I believe there's a button that says why join. Go look at that list. It's incredible. But the more that people fund us, the more projects, because I look at all these different things as projects, the more projects I can execute. So when people support us, I can do these things. If people don't support us, I can't. I'll make simple political videos and we'll be available for interviews and we'll do things that don't cost money. But with the lawsuit, we launched the biggest lawsuit in Canadian history. I know I said that a lot of times, but people need to understand how big this lawsuit is. It's unprecedented. It's going to cost us about $1.2 million by the time it's done. And the reason why no one's ever done it, because no gun group ever had that kind of money. So the community has actually really stepped up. Gun clubs are starting to send us money, and many have. But when I say many, it's probably about 40, and there's 1,200 clubs in Canada. So we need everybody to get together, help us, and we will do that work on your behalf. So that's why it's so important.
I couldn't agree more. And, a lot of us are in the community. We're like, we don't want to be bothered with this, political nonsense. We just want to shoot our guns. And in order to be able to keep shooting your guns, you have to have somebody fighting on your behalf. And in order to do that, you need to chip in, right? And what does it cost for a membership?
A membership is $40, comes with $5 million of insurance. It's the same stuff that you get everywhere. But it's $40 a year to become a member, or you can donate, and that's great too. Or if you don't want to become a member for whatever reason, or that doesn't appeal to you, and you don't want to just donate to our general revenue account, which is what we do the television show and all that stuff out of, you can donate directly to our legal fund, and that money goes into a trust account, a legal trust account. That's audited and it's a regulated account, so you can see exactly what's in there. I will tell you what's in there and provide you with an audited statement, which is a legal document. You can see how much we've collected, you can see how much we've spent, and if there's more money than we can spend in that legal account, we'll launch more legal actions. If there's less money in that account, then not enough money to pay our legal bills in the CCFR out of general revenue will kick in to cover that. But that's how we've chosen to do it, because in the past, you've had gun groups that have said, hey, we're doing a class action lawsuit, make sure you donate. They take in all this money. 2 years later, people are like, what's going on? They're like, oh yeah, we decided not to do it. And then they're faced with having to refund money, or it's dodgy. And that kind of dodgy dealing does not help our credibility as a community at all. So that's why the CCFR has chosen to do it that way. So you can be confident that your money's going to the right place, and we will do that work on your behalf.
So, really what you said in essence is transparency. And I think that that's what's most important here, because I have seen some interesting wording that I was like, wait a second here. Words like, we have full intention. Intention, that's a real gray area word. It's kind of like open for stepping back or wiggling your way out of something. And that's concerning to me. And again, it's not about trying to call anybody out or any other gun groups. I think we all need to work together. It's super important, but at the same time, transparency is key. And I really love the fact that you guys have taken that approach.
Well, and you know what, Corey? It's not about calling anybody out. It's just about people should know what it is that the CCFR is doing. They should know what if you're going to give the membership dues or the donations that people give us are incredibly meaningful. Because this is money, especially during COVID, right? Hard times. That little bit of money that people have after the government takes half of it, someone would donate $40 or buy a membership to the CCFR. That money is sacred to us. It's not to be abused. It's not to be used frivolously. It's not to be, these people that would give you their money are not to be deceived or fooled into donating. That's really, it's very hard for me to stand by and watch. So that's why the CCFR just operates differently. We will never do that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of gun owners were waiting for an organization that was a lot more transparent, or as transparent as you can be, because there's some things we can't talk about because we'll just undermine ourselves, can't be public information. But somebody that's going to be honest and that you can trust. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we've become the most influential, sophisticated, and well-supported firearm lobby in Canadian history. And I actually look at it from a self-serving perspective. I'm trying to get the government and a lot of these other people, the anti-gun zealots in Canada. I'm just trying to get them out of my life. And this is the only way that I can take control and actually try to get them out of my life myself. So, you know, yeah, I love helping every other gun owner, that's true, but at the same time, I'm just trying to keep my own stuff, right? So it's that's where a lot of that motivation comes from. Because, you know, before the I think it's something, if you want something to happen in your life, you got to do it yourself. You got to get up and you got to do work, and I just want to keep my stuff and be left alone, really.
So Rod, we have a fundraiser for the CCFR going on as well. It's a coat of arms shirt. On the back of the shirt, it gives the message that we are the most vetted and we're cleared hot. So we're basically, every day a firearms owner is vetted. There's a criminal background check done on them here in Canada, for those of you that don't know, in the US. And for whatever reason, if we got flagged at any given point or any given day, something were to happen, our firearms license will be revoked and then firearms then be taken away. And this is the gun control that currently exists already in Canada, for those of you that don't know. And that's what this shirt entails. And on the back it says Integrity March. So 100% of the proceeds of that t-shirt are going to the CCFR to use as they see fit, whether that be in the legal fund or with the content that they're producing to fight this gun control.
Well, thank you for that fundraiser. I appreciate it. We can use all the help that we can get. But yeah, if you're local and you have the day off and you're okay to take a little bit of risk and come out and march with us, I really need you there. As I said, I need 1,000 people there to show I have 10 times the support, even under the conditions of a pandemic, than any anti-gun group in Canada. So that's one of the big goals. So I really need your help. Again, September the 12th, 1 p.m. on Parliament Hill. Make sure if you're going to come, leave early so that you can get parking and make your way over there for maybe 10 to 1 or so. And I promise within an hour, the whole thing will be wrapped up and you'll be on your way home, and we will have gotten what we needed. And again, if you want to support the CCFR, you can go to firearmrights.ca and click why join, see what we do, and consider making a donation or volunteering.
Kudos to you guys for really being able to be the tip of the spear. What you've been able to achieve in such a short amount of time is mind-blowing. Like the last issue of High Capacity Magazine, we focused on some of the stuff that the CCFR has done. And when you talk about investing in an organization, you really need to look and do your homework to see, well, what's everybody doing and where do I want to put my money? It's no different than an investment in the stock market. You're going to do your homework. Put your money where it's going to be well used, and congratulations on the hard work you guys have done there. And I'm just so thankful and humbled to be a small part of the CCFR has accomplished. So incredible as always, Rod. Thank you so much for your time. And to the people at home, don't think your neighbor's coming, don't think your friend's coming, so you don't have to. I expect to see you there. I will be there. And on that note, thank you all, and we'll see you at the Integrity March.
And so you don't miss out, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube.com. This is Coat of Arms.